and it can be done. And you guys would have a product that nobody else has. Nobody.
You know what, okay, I have a hot take. And people listening, I hope they're gonna hear this, and they post it on Reddit so I can go fucking viral, and we can get patrons and so on. Patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. Here's a hot take. Battlefield always been known to be a sandbox type of game, right? Combined warfare, right? You have your jets, your boats, your tanks, your infantry fighting together for one. Yeah. Battlefield always been a sandbox game, you know? So, the next Battlefield game, like I said, I think they learned their lessons, or at least they're learning. They see what the current market is and how Call of Duty is doing regarding, with the Call of Duty HQ thing, games being under one launcher. Warzone being that connecting tissue between all the games, but if you want to play Black Ops, you can play Black Ops, you can play Modern Warfare, that's fine. They're all connected, all progress is together, tied into under one banner. And so Battlefield, next Battlefield game. You have your Battle Royale, you have your multiplayer, and let's say multiplayer is just pure Portal. Let's say multiplayer is pure just Portal. There's official servers in there. You can play, your typical vanilla Battlefield that DICE made. That's fine. But the main attraction of it is just like it's Portal, right? That's your multiplayer section. And then maybe in there, somewhere in between, you can have comparative stuff, right? You can have your 5-on-5s or 8-on-8s or whatever the case may be, right? Still can be under the same banner.
Your squad conquest.
Yeah,
and your
exactly. Squad conquest, squad operation, all that kind of stuff. You can have that under one banner. And you can still say this is Battlefield. You can still say this is a Battlefield game because you have a Battle Royale. You have a multiplayer, conquest, whatever. Then you have small scale like 5-on-5 operation or something like that.
Team deathmatch, a small-scale conquest where the tanks and the jets can be removed, and it's mostly just infantry and infantry fighting vehicles. Yeah, again, give the community those options.
And it's still Battlefield. It's still a sandbox Battlefield game because the idea of becoming a sandbox, you can make anything you want. So imagine you have your Battle Royale that is free to everyone to play, and then you have your paid version, which is the multiplayer version, and you can basically make any Battlefield you want. You want to make World War II Battlefield or hardcore mode or whatever, that's fine. As long as the tools are there and they're easily connected to the main game, that it's not a chore to make these kind of servers and people can play.
If you want to be a sadistic motherfucker that just has everybody running around with bolt actions and it's one-shot kill and that's the only thing that you're allowing everybody to do, and you take the mini-map away and everything else and it just becomes a game of hide-and-seek, fucking do it, whatever.
Yeah, and if you don't...
Let us have ball fights again.
Yeah, and if you don't want that, you can always go back to the official servers that DICE always provides. But if you want a specific experience, I think people that very hard, sure, there's always going to be arguments on Reddit or anywhere online. People like, oh, this is bad and so on and blah, blah, blah. And we'll make fun of other people for playing hardcore mode, sure, because hardcore mode
whatever,
is shit.
It's their shit. It's what they want to get out of the game.
Yeah, it's their shit. They made the server. DICE gives us the option to make that server, and everything's connected. If you don't want to play that, that's fine. You don't have to matchmake to that. Just matchmake to whatever you want.
I'll even take this idea and go the next step further. Let everybody do all of that shit, and let bots be a thing, too. Because if it's an idea that somebody wants to play and it's not necessarily that popular, all right, fine, whatever. Just let me at least have the ability to have that experience with bots. Like if I want to set up like a King of the Hill thing where I'm bored and I just want to, break out an M240 and just shoot shit, all right? I can set up a flag point on the map that this is where the bots need to get to for me to quote-unquote lose, and I just... park a couple of spawn points for some bots on the map, and that's all I do. And I just make myself my own cheeky little tower defense mode because I'm just that bored and want to do it. Let me do that. Let me fucking do that. And if somebody else wants to jump in, I let that option happen, where if somebody else wants to jump in and maybe be like a random rogue out amongst the legion of bots that I have spawning that wants to come in and try and get me and make it a bit of a challenge, cool. If I want to set it up where somebody could join me in my tower defense side, cool. But let me have that ability. Let me have that option. Let me do that.
You technically can in Portal right now. It's not maybe like King of the Hill because they're still limited in some case, but you technically can. Technically, you can do that. already.
But if I want to set it up where I could like have like, I spawn in I set up a conquest map, and it's basically I've got to go from point to point to point to point and clear the flags out and claim them. I should be able to set that up and do that.
Yeah,
that would be me taking an experience, a gameplay style that I like, espionage and stealth gameplay to a slight degree, and making my own Battlefield experience out of it.
Yeah,
I wish we could do that. That would be great for the franchise.
You can, but it's just limited in certain tools like the HUD or whatever. That's the problem. But technically, you can. So apply this thing that you have in Portal, improve it, apply it to the multiplayer for the next game, and just let people go ham on it. As long as you have the vanilla typical service. But
let us have our spectator mode back. Let us do let us do community content. Let us do videos and stuff again. That's free advertisement for you guys. Like, the games that people can make videos in and shit, that makes other people get interested in it, because it's like, oh, I can not only play this game, but I can be creative in it as well. I can make videos and make content. I mean, one of the reasons, look at how many people got drawn into Halo all of a sudden because of Red versus Blue. It's a very entertaining show. People, there were probably people out there who had heard of the show, never even heard of Halo, watched a couple episodes of it, and were like, oh shit, I want to play this game now. And now they're playing Halo. Same thing with Battlefield. You can't tell me that some of the cinematic videos and some of the cinematics and shit that came out during Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 didn't help bring people into the freaking game. It just baffles me that they've taken that away from the community, and if they were going to take it away and they were going to do something of their own nature with it and do their own cinematic stuff with it, then fine. Where the fuck is all of that? But again, give that back to the community. Give that back to the content creators and stuff. We really need it. I feel like that too is just, it's a soul of that has always been of the franchise that needs to come back.
Yeah, I agree. I literally
let
agree.
us tell stories. Let us have fun. Let it be the sandbox it always was meant to be.
So yeah, you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. Like when people gonna bitch about Battle Royale or everything else, right? About being in Battlefield, I'm like, Battlefield was also known as a sandbox game. This is a sandbox. If someone wants to play a Battle Royale and they made a Battle Royale, that's fine. It still can be a Battlefield Battle Royale. That is not like any other Battle Royale. And if you don't want that, you can always play normal Battlefield experience that they're offering in the paid version. I see no problem.
And that's always been a thing with the franchise. Carrier Assault. Carrier Assault came out. I loved Carrier Assault. Not everybody did. Yeah. I can still get on Battlefield 4 to this day and play some Carrier Assault. Granted, it probably won't be very popular. It won't be very populated. I might be playing by myself. But,
I mean, it's there at least. Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah, it's there. But yeah, that's what I think is about the next Battlefield game. I think they learned their lessons. I think that it's going to be a connecting tissue for the next 5 years. I regardless if the game is good or bad, I think they will nail at least the aesthetics, the idea behind it. At least. Doesn't mean it's going to be a good game. Doesn't mean it's not going to have some shitty-ass mechanics that we all hate or whatever.
Doesn't necessarily mean the launch is going to be butter smooth.
Yeah, doesn't mean the launch is going to be butter smooth. But when it comes to just idea behind it, I think the next game will nail it. I think they're going to nail that. I don't think it's going to be... Yeah, you're going to have your cosmetics and everything and weird and so on. That's fine. They're going to go somewhat realistic at first, then they're going to go crazy as time goes on. It's fine. You know what? I don't care. Give me ridiculous cosmetics. That's fine. It's fine. As long as it makes sense in that Battlefield universe they're making, as long as it makes in that game, even if it's goofy, that's fine. As long as it makes sense, it's fine. At the end of the day, it's still a sandbox game.
And here it gets even better, okay? All right? This is wild. I just had this idea. If you want to take that idea and even want to do, like, say, the silly corporate media tie-ins, what's stopping them from having a partnership with Bethesda for a little bit and, making 2 or 3 maps that are inspired in cosmetics around, like, Halo or Skyrim or something like that.
They will, because other games were already doing it. Even Apex had a collab, and that's the EA. Battlefield will have some collabs. That's happening. I'm sorry.
I would applaud that as long as it's tasteful and within like genre. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'd be cool with that.
It's coming.
Or they'd
collabs
partner
are
with
coming, yeah.
Konami and do some Metal Gear shit within Battlefield. I'd be cool with that. All right. Or even, and this is going to be even crazier, and I know some people are probably going to have some shit to say about this. Hey Disney, mind if we do a little bit of Star Wars?
You know what?
And you just throw out 4 maps where it's
You
basically
already have
just
the assets.
Battlefield. It's just Star Wars skinned Battlefield.
You
and
already
off you
have
go.
the assets. Battlefront is there. You have the files. You have the files under the same engine. You have it. You can.
But just make it so that you can't have fucking Darth Vader running around with an M16 in the base game because I don't want that shit.
It's gonna be like Stormtroopers or Clone Troopers, whatever, but like maybe semi-realistic, maybe a helmet or an arm or something like that. I can see that happening, actually. I can actually see that happening.
As long as it's tasteful, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I could... you could have it like, let's just say let's go back to the Fallout tie-in. You could have power armor suits that are around that you pick up, and the fusion core only lasts for so long. To make it as tie into the gameplay, and you're pretty much a walking tank for that time frame. Or just have power armor just be a spawnable vehicle like a tank, and be done with it. The different variants of the power armor, you could have them, have different abilities. The T-60 with a jetpack, has the ability in order to fly around a little bit and be able to shoot from above because vertibirds aren't the best in the world. You could even go so far as to have the BOS airship make an appearance and be like the behemoth from fucking Battlefield 1. It could be done. Battlefield is one of those franchises where if it's done right, you could get away with this shit. And it's not tasteless. The problem is they just can't seem to get a good foundation going to do all this stuff. Like there's so much potential there. They need to get this foundation laid, and they need to just stick with it and stop.
It's the lack of foundation that DICE always been having problems with that. It's always the lack of foundation. You make a new game.
I've always saluted their innovativeness. Always.
But the
thing is they keep reinventing the wheel every goddamn game, and it needs to stop.
Exactly. Every new game, it's a completely different game. Nothing from the previous games is transferring, whatever the case may be, the features or whatever the case may be. Doesn't matter. It's always a brand new game with different mechanics and everything. It's just like the only thing that basically connects all these games. Like, remove the name Battlefield from each of these games. Like, from Battlefield 1...
You wouldn't tell they're all the same franchise.
You could not tell they're the same fucking game, the same franchise. Remove the name Battlefield from each Battlefield game and just name them something else. You could not
hold on,
tell.
no. With the exception of Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. That is the only exception. Because if you took just the aesthetics and the way a lot of the multiplayer soldiers look, because the looks didn't change too much between the two, yes, I could. If you took Battlefield out of those two titles and you put those games side by side, I would look at them and go, well, yeah, this is clearly a successor to the other. But any of the other ones in the franchise, no, can't do it.
Yeah,
if I compared Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5, I'd go, those are two completely different fucking games, because they are.
Yeah. Even Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 not even the same.
Yeah.
Battlefield 2042 is completely something else entirely. But yeah.
Now then we throw fucking Hardline in there, and the average goes ape shit.
Yeah. Completely goes insane. But yeah, I think both of us agree that I don't think the franchise should be splitting into different subcategories or whatever, because I don't think
they need to just make a good base and just unify all of that and just stop with, because it's clear that that's what they want to do with the franchise. Like, it's clear that they know that it's capable of doing that, because otherwise they wouldn't, be trying to do all these wild and crazy things. But at the same time, like, I feel it's time they consolidate now. I think they need to just go back and look at Battlefield 3 and 4, look at, how everything worked, what all worked, what didn't work, take that, make a good base foundation, make Portal more robust, make server rentals more robust and more appealing, give the community the ability back to be a community again. Don't necessarily have to bring Battlelog back. I mean, you could. I think that was kind of one thing that was really good, but at the same time really shitty about BF4. But, you don't have to do that. But still, give that ability to have communities come back. I mean, even make a partnership with Discord, have a Discord server for, all of the platoons where everybody, whatever, something like that. You have community managers that are intelligent people that could find ways to do this, and just embrace that facet of it. And I promise you, it will do good over time. It will do well over time. But they need to they've got to stop fucking around and just do this the right way, and just listen to what everybody's saying.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, originally we want to talk about comparative Battlefield because of the new game mode. Strike Team came out. Okay, quick talks before we can end the podcast. I'm just gonna say this. Strike Team is okay mode. It's basically 4-on-4. Well, now it's on 8-on-8. Basically, search and destroy. You know how search and destroy works, right? Yeah, typical CS:GO type of thing or whatever. Typical search and destroy mode that is available in basically all competitive shooters. It's fine. My only because Battlefield 2042 is Battlefield 2042, the way specialists work and everything, it's not balanced. It's kind of broken. But that's because the game was not really designed for that. But my biggest problem with this mode being up is not because they made it. It's the Battlefield community fucking screeching. It's like, I want to play Battlefield. I don't want to play 4-on-4 and 8-on-8 mode. This is garbage and everything. I'm just like, again, this is the hot take. Battlefield is a fucking sandbox. Battlefield it's a fucking sandbox. If you properly make it, if you can make a 4-on-4 or 8-on-8 game mode competitive and be in a fucking Battlefield, you can do that. But the community always looks at it from a really narrow point of view. This is 4-on-4. This is boring because you play boring games. I'm sorry. Your view is shit. I'm sorry if I insulted, but that's the truth. If there's amazing games out there that are 5-on-5 or whatever, and they can be good and so on. The problem is with Battlefield, they always try to be like other games. And that's what the problem is. Battlefield 1 Incursions. I'm sorry, I will die on this hill. Battlefield 1 Incursions, a 5-on-5 mode that was in alpha or beta, whatever you call it. Now a lot of people play it because it was like in a closed alpha and you needed a key to play it. And it was like a testing bench for a comparative, so on. That was such an amazing Battlefield experience, and you don't need more than 10 players to be fucking fun and amazing and rewarding. It was a Battlefield experience. You had destruction and conquest and rush in like meshed into one mode, and it was really fun experience with vehicles, for fuck's sake. So, long story short, you can make a Battlefield game competitive as long as you stay, again, like we said in this whole episode, true to its identity. As long as you stay true to its identity, that comparative mode, whatever you're making, can work. As long as you stay to the identity of the game. That's my rant regarding that.
I'll say this right now. Back when we did do competitive, it would have made life so much easier on all of the platoon leaders and everything if console would have had the level of robust customization as far as the server settings went as PC did. And I say that because I know I've said it in another episode, and I've probably said it in this one before. You could set a game up so that if somebody spawns with improper equipment or something that's banned, they're insta-killed. Insta-death. Instant. And
no, in Call of Duty, you can't even spawn with that.
Yeah. I mean, give us that ability again. If we would have been able to do that with console, I mean, the competitive scene would have been so much easier to just simply manage. Because that was one big thing back then when we were trying to set matches up with competitive on comp is agreeing on what equipment was allowed to be used, and not only having to deal with people being accused of using it, but burdens of proof. If we would have had the ability to simply just have the game set up to say, no, you can't spawn with that, God, the ease of running competitive matches would have become so much more appealing to other people, because I think that's one of the reasons why it did as well as it did, but didn't go any further when we were doing it, is just because of how much of a pain in the ass it was to do everything.
Yeah.
When PC started getting real big, the options were there, but the competitive scene, like what you and I had set up and going, wasn't. It was something completely different. Yeah. So, I to this day, I still feel like if console would have been able to have that level of robustness in server setups, then I feel like it would have been so much better. Would have been so much better, and it needs to come back.
Yeah.
Let that small in-house competitive scene come back. I miss those days. Those were good days, and it was a lot of fun to do. We met a lot of good people over the years doing that shit.
Oh
too.
yeah.
So that's the thing that I feel like the franchise has been sorely missing over the years, is that right there. They want to be in the competitive scene, then let a homebrew competitive scene actually start up and do stuff. I mean, why not?
Yep, I fully agree.